Welcome back into the shed, everyone. Good to see you again, Eva.
Good to see you.
Good. How was your week? Give me the whole rundown. Well, first, before we get all, too jovial and whatnot, I want you to share a little bit about your weekend experience out at the vigils.
Oh, last weekend.
Yeah.
It was good. It was really great. So Damon Cousins was killed at 105th and Marks. And at first his mother was a little concerned about people talking about his death and sort of like using it as an indicator and kind of a stepping off point for advocacy. But then she kind of came around and came to the vigil at the spot where Damon was killed. And it was really good to have his mom there, I think. It like added a lot. And we learned a bit about Damon too, which I always think is important to, he was a person, right? He had dreams and he had a job and his mom really loved him and, all of this stuff that sometimes gets glazed over when we're talking about traffic violence,
Yeah.
So.
And it illustrates the importance of y'all getting out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because without that event, none of that comes to light.
Yeah, I went and I talked to her and I said, hey, tell me about your son. Like, I want to know who he was, right? So he was going to start a cookie company. He loved to bake. He's going to his job that he'd had for the last 11 years. So, yeah.
I hope he would have incorporated his last name into the name.
It was going to be Cuzzy's Cookies.
That's just a great
That's great, right?
Cuzzy's Cookies.
Yeah, Cuzzy's Cookies.
Maybe someone in his family will maybe bake or do something like that. But yeah, I'm so glad you were there. I mean, imagine his family being there and I'll assume, not having much knowledge or awareness of like the advocacy world and all these people that like care about this stuff and track it all very closely. And they're standing there watching this group of people they've never seen before roll up to this event for their son, friend.
Yeah.
That's
well,
just
she
so powerful.
said like, thank you. Like, I'm so glad you have such a strong, tight-knit community.
There you go. Yeah. Well, thanks for being out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was good coverage in the news.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, KPTV, KGW, that's really good. Not good for what you're out there for, but.
Right, exactly. And that's something Ted Bueller said to the gal working for Fox News. It was like, we don't want you to have to cover these events,
Yeah.
Like, if people aren't dying, then we can have better stuff on the news. Like, good news.
I mean,
coverage of puppies.
I'm sort of torn too, like how the local media, they're actually usually eager for those stories, I have to say.
Yeah.
They know that, and I did read some of the comments like on YouTube of the coverage, and there was a lot of really not great stuff on there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's always interesting to me the like urgency and care they take with the fatality stories versus like anything else related to our stuff. And so there's that. But I think overall that was it was a helpful thing that BikeLoud did, and Families for Safe Streets. So I'm glad to see that connection too. Anything else?
Like something less sad?
Less? Yeah. I mean, who opens a show with something like that? But
yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, such an amateur.
I don't know. There's apparently a new like little
there was an election.
That little thing.
Yeah. I'm choosing to lean into the local.
Lean into the local.
I like
that. That sounds like a news
results.
That should be Bike Portland's tagline.
Lean into local.
Lean into local.
You mean you don't like what's vital, not viral?
Ooh.
Or anyway, I'm not going into my slogans.
Just alliteration for everything.
Human-powered news.
Human-powered news.
Mm-hmm. See the other ones I've got. Just kidding.
I feel like you might be plugged into the electrical grid here.
True. It's really not human powered at all.
It'd be funny
if
there
Mike
was
Cobb
just
in
like
the back over
a
there.
guy pedaling a bike in the corner,
exactly.
like powering everything, turning on our microphones.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to a birthday party tonight, and I get this invite, and it's like, wear the outfit that you never know when or where to wear it. That was a difficult sentence to spit out.
Okay.
But so the prompt is like, wear that outfit that you have hanging on the hanging wherever in your closet but it's never quite right. So I have no idea what people are going to look like.
That's a great...
In fact, I know no one at this party except for the birthday boy.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Did you have a go-to outfit you thought of?
Well, I was like, maybe I'll wear my wedding dress. It's tonight, so I only have a few hours to decide.
All right. Is your wedding dress still hanging in your closet?
Yeah. Got married 11 years ago. I don't know. It's just
there's nowhere else to put it.
It doesn't take up a lot of room.
Okay. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Is that something you have to ask Leslie? Does that like a would you?
I think she was a little like, okay.
She's just going to wear something completely different. And
yeah.
Not related
I mean,
to
my
the
wedding dress is not like one of those like big fluffy things. Yeah. It's gray and very simple.
Okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see you tomorrow night, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm making margaritas.
Jenna Bikes, and I don't know if Nick has a nickname, but it'll be fun.
Nick with a C.
Yeah, Nick with a C.
I actually don't call him Nick with a C. I just call him Nick. I don't know.
I don't either.
Nick Coda.
Yeah, that's who he is.
He just has a last name.
Yeah.
You got to say the whole name.
Got to say the whole name.
What are you doing this weekend?
That's it.
Just it? I think just one dinner.
One dinner. I do think I'll go out to Hollywood Transit Center and check out the ramp that is finally open.
Oh, yeah.
So the new ramp that is part of the housing development and a bunch of changes they made with the way the bus lines come in there. Like at 42nd. Mm-hmm. That ramp's been closed for a long time, so I'm going to go check it out.
I did go to LeCare Pharmacy to get my COVID shot.
Good. That's right there. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should stop.
Just drop in.
Yeah, just drop in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea. Especially now, after the election. We may need to get everybody...
You should probably get your vaccine now before it becomes illegal.
Before all the stuff hits the fan. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of...
Before we have worms eating everyone's brains.
I'm not even going to go there.
I just feel like the comedians are like, they have so much fodder.
They do. I hate thinking that there's all these people in the entertainment industry that are like realizing that they're going to have all this amazing material. Well, I think like
Saturday Night Live, that was like their, big break.
I mean, don't say that. I mean, it is what it is. So
they've gone through waves.
Yeah. It is really like dissonance in the brain of like what happened with local versus national. Mm-hmm. I mean, I follow a lot of like not right wing, but just different media outlets that wanted a whole set of different local candidates, and they're just like despondent, right? Because like progressives did really well in Oregon, in Portland too. But
we live in a little
statewide.
bubble over here.
I've been thinking a lot about that.
About our bubble?
Well, that too. The bubble thing is certainly relevant to think about, especially with what happened on the national stage with the Democrats. But I've been thinking a lot about like, why did Portland do what it did? I mean, we had this like creeping centrism, right-wingish sort of thing. And there were a lot of people putting their bets on the law and order, tough guy, tough man kind of vibe with Renee Gonzalez. And I'm starting to think that, especially again, compared to the national level, look at what we have in Portland. A vigorous democratic process that was totally groundbreaking and amazing, and tons of people got engaged with it. We have really good local press, multiple outlets covering different sort of parts of the political spectrum with good reporters, we have just like a deeply engaged populace for the most part. And anyway, I'm just wondering.
What percentage of voters voted in this election?
I think ultimately, the latest number, 70? Is it in the 70s? I think it's typically in the 80s, so it's a little down this year. A lot of procrastination.
To me, 70 sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we broke records in terms of putting in ballots on a per day basis, but overall, I don't think it was quite as high.
Okay.
But I'm just thinking, I mean, I like to think when I go to bed at night and want to feel, warm and fuzzy, it's like maybe something we're doing here in Portland is why we had a different outcome than we did nationally. And what does that mean? And what lessons can we learn from that, So, again, we had an environment where it could have gone a different way here, but I think because of the structure of how this city is set up, we didn't do that. I mean, I was surprised by.
Well, how connected can you feel to someone who's 3,000 miles away and,
there's that.
Is speaking to the entire nation versus someone who's literally like in your little corner of Portland. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. But I mean, like, what are the things? That seems
more engaging.
Yeah, it is. But it also shows how, a lot of the things that are happening here in Portland with the media and with the local political process, let's say, are just totally have been eroded nationally and don't exist nationally.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, a lot of election thoughts. I was going to do a whole just solo podcast about all the districts and everything, but
it's just you looking into a mirror.
No, literally. Oh boy. So that was interesting. It was really interesting being at Keith Wilson's acceptance speech. Packed house. It was a thing where he strode in the room and took 3 steps, stopped, and everybody started clapping and got out of their seats and pointed toward him and just standing ovation.
Wow. Yeah.
It was impressive.
How did
he's
people,
just there soaking
like,
it
who
up.
are these people that came?
Really big crowd of sort of a lot of like who's who kind of people in a way.
Okay.
There was, Rep Bonamici, Suzanne Bonamici was there. Rep Blumenauer was there. A lot of city council candidates.
Okay.
Like Nat West, Jamie Dunphy, Mariah Hudson, Dan Ryan, of course, was there. Olivia Clark was there. I saw Mike Marshall.
Well, if you just have like all of the city council candidates, that's like half the room.
Yeah. True.
Right?
It is. It was a pretty small setup. I mean, my heart was just a flutter because it was literally a small basketball court was what the room that we were in. And it was in Charles Jordan, which is where I go with open gym with my son and shoot baskets. So that was really cool. But yeah, also the president and CEO of the Portland Metro Chamber was there and several other sort of folks.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But I have to say, I'm just waiting for some shoe to drop. Like, I'm super optimistic about Keith Wilson. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think we dodged some bullets and took the right person. I really do believe that. But like, I'm just conditioned to not get too excited and something else to happen. But got to say, I wrote a story about Keith Wilson and all of his transportation background, and then email pops up, and it's from Keith saying, someone had sent him the article and he thought it did a good job. And I'm like, you just gave your acceptance speech. Why are you still emailing rando people? It's like, the guy works really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize what that might mean for the city, just to have this like super earnest, like hardworking. Anyway, so
earnest and responsive.
Yeah.
These are nice things.
Couldn't believe he was actually like, anyway. So I already put the word in to, hey, swing by Bike Happy Hour again and chat with the folks. That might be fun. Someone's going to give a concession speech this week at Bike Happy Hour on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, Marnie Glickman. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
She wants to come by.
I feel like she really connected with the bike community.
Yeah, for sure. So that'll be interesting.
I don't know. I just want to go back to Keith Wilson and talk about Taylor Greggs's like the
I saw that.
images of, because I do feel like when Keith Wilson came to Bike Happy Hour, I was like, oh my God, he looks like Ted Wheeler.
Yeah, he does.
It's so weird.
He does. I'm of many minds about that whole thing of like
the meme world.
Well, not just the meme world. And I know I'm saying this as someone who also looks like Ted Wheeler and Keith Wilson.
You do part your hair on the same
and
side.
like I could, in 10 years, I'm going to look a lot like them, and I totally understand that I'm saying this from that perspective. And it's like, I'm maybe more sensitive to these, what I feel are kind of like, and the part of me that what bothers me about it is they're like these veiled critiques of what the person looks like. And it's just like, let's put all these people in the same boat because of what their faces look like. And I just find that to be not the kind of like...
I just thought it was funny.
I know, it is kind of funny, but it is also that meme or that idea, the split screen of like, Hales, Wheeler, Adams even, and Keith Wilson. Sometimes it's done... I don't know. And again, I'm feeling
just to critique that white men are the people that win.
Yeah.
Political office, literally, like this is the critique,
and it's a real,
and it should be done,
and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
But part of me just like, I don't participate in that kind of dialogue stuff. I don't think it's funny. I don't like amplify it. Partly because I look like them, like I said, but also because I just feel like it's this thing. It's just this superficial.
It's petty.
It's petty. That's the word. It's petty. It's like, look at how someone looks and then make some assumptions about them. Ask me why that's something that, Anyway, so that bothers me on a certain level, but I get why it's funny, So go ahead, that's good. Everybody have fun.
Thanks, Taylor.
I just who knows? Yeah, that's traveled far. That's really interesting. What else? Let's see. Oh, let's do the how did she get there segment.
Oh shit, I meant to study a map or something before I came over. Because I felt like last time I just like failed.
I love that you actually care about your performance.
Yeah, of course I care.
Okay.
I was like one of those straight A students that, I couldn't, like if I got a B, I was like, damn.
Okay, that's good to know. Good insight.
I got a C- in my thesis class in college because I had a professor who just wanted to like dig in the knife.
Was he like an older white guy that looked like
She was like a young white lady.
Oh, sorry.
But I don't know. She just wanted to like push my buttons a little bit.
And you still remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
C- just
20
hanging
years
over your
ago.
Head. All right, with that hanging over you. Oh my God. Eva.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't hold grudges.
Oh sure. Yeah.
No.
Calling her by her first name still. Okay, so I hope this stumps you. This is actually set up well because I'm giving you this one because I just recently went there and then I could like slide in after and like add my little 2 cents. So, okay, from here, whatever. I always just say Peninsula Park so we don't have to divulge our addresses and kind of thing. So from Peninsula Park to Roosevelt High School, which is, you know where it is?
No, tell me which one is Roosevelt.
Roosevelt is right off Lombard at like just after the railroad cut.
Oh, out like west a little bit.
Northwest.
Good question.
Or think of if you don't know the exact spot, like just think of how would you get out to what other park would be like right there? How would you get to Fred Meyer on Lombard? Do you ever go to that one?
I have been to that Fred Meyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, similar thing.
I would probably just scoot west on Ainsworth all the way to Willamette. Okay. And then go north on, northwest on Willamette and then just take that right. On whatever road the school is on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right after the cut, right? Yeah, you can almost see Freddy's from Willamette.
You could also go further north and do it that way, but I don't know.
Yeah,
depends on the day.
That's like the probably least thought required option, which often I will do. When I'm choosing routes sometimes, if I'm like stressed or like distracted or whatever, or just want to kind of veg, I will take the most like just...
It's just like 2 turns.
Right. But sometimes... Okay. So it's also worth saying that the route you described, Ainsworth to Willamette to basically the street the school's on, it's only a few blocks. That's really kind of nice. And Ainsworth's always going to get better. Ainsworth is a fascinating street because it's such an important bike route. Yeah. And it's actually in the plans supposed to be a bike route, but it doesn't feel like that a lot of times. It's like a
greenway that feels sort of like a highway.
Yeah. It's really interesting how popular it is and how important it is. And there's something about its connections to Williams, Michigan, Concord even, and Peninsula Park. It's just something about the connectivity that makes it like this gold rush thing.
It's definitely in our neighborhood, the street I see the most.
Yeah. And with
people riding on.
But it's not, there's no bike facility there. So it's really interesting, right? And sometimes it's just actually wide enough. It's just wide enough, but it's not great. So, but there are plans. So that's interesting. But then of course, Willamette's great. It's like almost car free to get to Rosa Parks. And then the new stuff coming on Willamette, the protected bike lane stuff. So that's awesome. So that's good. But so what's interesting is if I'm in a hurry though, because there's always like different types of routes. Like I said, if you want to veg out versus like, I just got to get there. So I had to go to basketball tryouts last night and tonight. I was there from like 5:30 to 9. Anyway, so I had to get to basketball. And so it was at Roosevelt. So I've been trying to think like, which route am I going to take once everything starts and I'm over there more. And I was like, forget it. I'm just going to try to get to Lombard as soon as I can and just take Lombard, which is like straight shot. Traditionally,
even with the traffic lights, it feels faster.
Well, the X factor is I took my class 3 e-bike. Okay. So I can go 25, 26 just kind of easily, you know? So that figures into it. I wouldn't take Lombard with my other bikes because the speed differential is a thing for me when I'm choosing routes. And like if I can go faster, I feel, safer. Yeah. Because when I get hit, because you can kind of enmesh with the, right. That just feels, it just feels more powerful. So yeah, I was blown away. So I basically just took kind of the more neighborhood greenway route, which I went like, basically, Buffalo, which is over by Fred Meyer here on Interstate. Great street, Buffalo. I highly recommend. Buffalo over to like Delaware. Delaware is right where the bike lane starts. Yeah. the new bike lane ODOT put in.
Delaware just got fresh bumps by.
That's right.
On this side of Lombard.
And that's the Greenway Street, Delaware. And then from Delaware, just on Lombard the whole way. And it's, I don't know, probably 4 miles of bike lanes, 3.5,
just straight
4
on
miles.
Lombard.
Just straight the whole way to the school. It gets me within, 2 blocks of the school. There's an annoying gap for 7 blocks probably, which I was thinking last night as I biked back.
With no bike lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
New bike lane, gap, bunch of new bike.
Did you see anybody else riding?
Odd.
Because I don't see people riding on Lombard.
Not very much. Yeah. Not very much.
Okay.
The biggest bike lanes, like in the main area that were the most recent ones, I don't know if people are really adjusted to the fact that they're there. The street's way more chill now.
Yeah.
And so everybody has those thoughts about what it used to be like, even to drive or be around. It was like, the whole classic Strode, 5 lanes, center lane, 2 lane, people passing different speeds.
For me, walking, I will now walk to places on Lombard.
Yeah.
Whereas I used to not, because I literally couldn't walk across the street.
It's just so transformational how one lane in each direction can change. It means people can't pass people, so you don't have the jerks flying around.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's much nicer, but again, it's not protected at all. That's annoying, and that's that. But there's a buffer. There's a buffer strip, so it's 2 lines. Thank you, yay.
Yeah.
And a little reflectors, I think, on the outside one, which I actually like those a lot. Anyway, so it feels relatively safe, even the part without a bike lane, because I was going 25. So that's that. But also reminded me that we need to figure out a way to design streets with that kind of travel in mind. If we could unleash all these 20 to 25 mile an hour bicycles, oh my goodness.
Lombard getting over I-5 is always, to me, I'm like, what is going on here? Why is it so terrifying?
That's an absolute...
you can walk up some curly Q and walk across?
It's just super scary. It's a video I really want to do. I really want to talk about that access. It's so bad. It's one of the I would love to do a whole... It's
you have to go to whatever the Decum overpass.
I mean,
if you want to get across I-5 nearby.
I think if you're really concerned about your safety and staying alive, you would take the south sidewalk and stay on that. Take the curly Q thing by Freddy's, and then cross in the crosswalk. Or just stay on the sidewalk.
Right.
I mean, it's really terrible. It deserves a whole episode on that whole few blocks.
I do think the crosswalk at Lombard and Interstate is scary. There's tons of people walking there because there's a Max stop and a bus, a big bus stop.
Yeah, I agree that.
But it's people are taking rights on red and driving.
It's terrible.
Super fast.
You ever look at the telephone poles and other things around there?
Oh, to see the dents in them.
Oh, they're just... all the skid marks and stuff. It just makes my stomach turn. Whenever I go by it, I look at that and I'm staring at this, all the mistakes and things, and it's just scary. And there's so many people. That's the kind of intersection where I have this dream idea of call it a transit scramble signal. So
it's just everything's blacked out.
Exactly. As soon as the max triggers a thing, right? It's easy to time it.
Transit scramble. I like this.
When there's a max at the station or even a major bus coming, I don't think it would work. So just say just the max.
Yeah.
In several places along interstate. Because what happens as the max rolls up, everybody starts running from all directions to catch it. It's just not a good scene. And you got intersections like that. So imagine a transit scramble, everything's red until the max, to make sure all the people can hustle onto the max, and then max pulls away and the cycle continues. I think that'd be interesting. But to get back to taking Lombard to Roosevelt, so it's about, I should have known this to say this. I think it's how many miles? It's probably 4 miles or so.
It's probably not even that. I would guess 3.5, but I don't know.
So I was able to get to the parking lot at the high school in 12 minutes from my house.
Wow. Okay.
Definitely faster than driving. It was really cool. I passed tons of cars. One thing I was thinking on the way over was...
And all the cars were like, you're cheating.
They probably were. Well, technically I was breaking the law, right? Because it made me think about the laws and how it makes sense that the max in a bike lane is 20 miles an hour when there's these reasonable vehicles that are bicycles with batteries that can go faster than that? Should we be limiting people to 20 miles an hour in bike lanes? I don't know. Is that kind of the old paternalistic
Or maybe
thing
it should just be safe for conditions.
Maybe. Well, that's, yeah, let the judge figure it out.
Yeah.
Let your lawyers figure it out.
Yeah.
So
was it wet and dark and, maybe you should have been going slower or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, 12 minutes to get to Roosevelt from here. I thought was really great. But it does open up this idea of like how fast you can get places. So
if you pulled open Google Maps, what would it have told you?
I think it's like 20-ish.
Okay.
And that's typically been my experience with that bike, is that it's about half what Google says for bike directions on average. That's if I'm really focused.
Right.
That's also
if you're
legal.
Breaking a sweat.
Yeah, I'm not blowing signals and I'm not making big risks. Then I could shave a few more minutes, but
I do like seeing the people in bike towns where you're like, I know you are like looking at the app, watching your like the tab go up. So they're like running the red light, like doing crazy shit because they're like, oh my God, it's another however much a minute.
Did you want to rant against how the bike towners are always breaking laws? Is that what you're doing here?
No, I think it's great.
Oh, I think it's great.
I love watching people.
You think
like watching basically it's just a psychology experiment. Like
it is
how money affects behavior.
Oh, right. Well, multiply that by how many with like Uber and Lyft and all the chaos they've caused by, trying to get people places and get their fares delivered or food delivery people
I think
or
New
whatever.
York City is definitely a prime example of
oh boy,
Uber and Lyft just effing it all up.
Or even like the bike delivery guys,
just coming in from the suburbs, driving in from the suburbs and then like clogging up.
Yeah, separate from the e-bike delivery guys who are an exalted class of like professionals in a lot of ways.
Have you heard the
masters.
War on Cars episode where they like talk to some
deliveristas or whatever?
e-bike delivery people?
I haven't heard that one.
No, it's pretty interesting. Just these like, immigrant communities of people that this is like the only job they can get, and how you don't really make any money, but it's this thing just running around.
Yeah, it's a really neat culture. I was able to talk to some of them. I went to the Vision Zero Cities conference in New York a couple 2 years ago. And they spoke there. They've been unionizing. That's like become a whole political arm,
Just interesting also to see the issues that pop up of like charging and parking and all of that.
Even like where they can rest and where they can hang out and like let them, having a space to just like be and like, wait over. You see them sleeping in parks and like all getting meals together. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
What else? I rode out to Hillsdale this week.
Cute.
Yeah.
What were you?
What did I do? It was Monday. I had a thing to do Monday in Hillsdale, like a mandatory all district coaching meeting.
Oh, okay.
But I got to ride on Terwilliger, which we got to get the sweepers out there.
Okay.
It's a good example of a street.
It's a pretty road, though.
It's pretty. And it was actually really nice being out there in fall. Although the first section, closer to downtown Portland, is super dangerous because it's really goopy right now. Okay. And you don't want to be biking in it.
You don't want to be in the...
Yeah. And there's not a lot of room.
On the margins.
Otherwise. Yeah. So that's not a good situation. But I've been noticing that like, I'm kind of over the whole thing of yelling and screaming at PBOT for picking up leaves.
There's a lot. I mean, they all come down in the 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. But I feel like I spent years doing that.
Well, maybe they heard you.
I think they did. I think it did have a good impact, and I do think they take it more seriously now. But yeah, I'm not feeling the energy to
I saw you did
really get mad at them.
You did a little coverage of their cute little bike lane sweeper.
Yeah, they are so cute, those little things. I haven't heard back to see if they bought their new one that's like 4 feet wide. I really want to see that one get out there more. We could use it.
There's definitely a few spots where they just kind of accumulate.
Yeah.
BikeLoud needs to get out there too.
Yeah, well,
we just have one little guy, and it's kind of underpowered, and it's actually not that great for leaves because it has these little bins that fill up.
And you're talking about the bike lane sweeper.
Yeah, it's just a pull behind. It has a little like beater brush, like a vacuum cleaner would. And the bin is like half the size of your glass recycling.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
it fills up quickly.
It's good for pushing stuff out of the way, but stuff you have to pick up, it's limited.
Yeah, it's better for like gravel and glass.
Yeah, I hear you. But that's a cool thing. The product, you guys are still having that, testing it for the guy that made it.
Yeah, and they've developed a few other versions. I think working on sort of this issue that we've had of the leaves and like of the bin filling up. So having sort of more of like a push to the side type thing, like a snowplow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It still requires a lot of effort and coordination. And you need
to ride, actually operate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. You think that could scale?
You don't need an e-bike, but
do you think that could scale
just
up?
have like 20 of them around town.
Yeah, I mean,
each neighborhood has
each district.
Each district.
Yeah.
I think you would need it more on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. Because a whole district, well, I guess if you just are doing bike lanes.
Yeah.
There's probably not that many.
I feel like it could be like a bigger unit too to actually pick up. Then you're getting into like larger and larger vehicles that would be needed to tow it. And then you're like, if they make these really amazing sweepers that are 4 feet wide.
Just drive the cute little truck around.
Yeah, that's what we really need. Can we all put in
Doesn't
for
everybody,
sweeper?
it's like you get to be the Zamboni driver at the Winterhawks game. Like everybody wants that job.
It looks really fun.
Yeah. I
don't know why. I don't know if this is something that the city could contract out for though. Like, why are we waiting on PBOT to like buy one new sweeper?
Yeah, we contract everything else.
Can't we just make it part of like the sanitation company we work with, or can somebody just make a business sweeping bike lanes?
Somebody please just make a business.
That would be a neat. I feel like if it was 2010 again, where all these little bike businesses were springing up, like the bike racker guy, remember him? No. That was the coolest thing.
I don't know him.
And I don't think if it's still going on, I'm going to feel really bad.
Do you remember when Biketown had a pull behind trailer?
Oh, for sure.
By bike?
Yeah.
But they don't do that anymore.
The rebalancing by bike. That was the coolest thing.
Why?
I know.
People didn't want to do it, or what?
That's a good question. This was a different era. I don't think the Biketown system is in the mood to be messing around with cute little bike-powered trailers.
Or maybe, I think sometimes these things just come down to like insurance.
Yeah, often.
And that insurance coverage isn't available for a bike-powered vehicle. Or something.
Like actually, that's a whole issue. I was talking to Kyle Johnson, who owns the Go By Bike down underneath the aerial tram. He's also done really cool stuff with trying to get like an e-bike rental fleet, and he does his electric pedicabs. And he was telling me trying to get insurance is impossible. He couldn't even find someone to sell him a policy because they heard the word e-bike and they just like ran the other way.
They're like, oh, it's going to catch fire. Or somebody's going to die.
Someone's going to go tear up a golf course.
Yeah, sure.
Speaking of which, did you see the video? I shared a little video on Instagram of some kids. There was a big party in Cathedral Park on Halloween.
Oh, I saw there were like tire tracks everywhere.
Yeah, and I happened to go on a ride and I looked down. I was like, oh, these kids.
Luckily, grass grows back.
I know. But on a similar note, the funniest thing about how the city at the urging of the police, they banned e-scooters downtown.
I saw this. It was confusing.
It was like,
Tell me more.
I'm not going to just reflexively be anti everything the PPB does like anymore. I'm tired of that. And so I wasn't trying to make fun of them, because I do think, if we have a police force, like post-election rioting or anything like that is actually like cool. If Kamala would have won or something happened, I get it. Something could have happened, right? So I'm glad that they were ready and prepared. But to like the whole optics of focusing on e-scooters and banning that block of downtown, it was so just not great. I would not have done that if I was in charge.
Let's go back.
Even though there's a demonstrated need,
the only thing
maybe,
that wasn't allowed in that quadrant was e-scooters.
Yes. That's another reason why it was so silly. They kept the bikes open. Whatever. But what was so interesting was that not only did nothing happen, thank God. Well, not that I'd be opposed if there was a protest. Don't get me wrong.
So what happened? At some point, a Lime scooter got busted through a window.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They have a reason to. It's a thing where it's government. They're like, this thing happened in the past, and people did. Apparently, they picked up the e-bikes and threw them in through the windows.
Okay.
They're big metal. They're a corporate brand, right? You get it.
You don't want that photo out on the internet.
And it's just an easy way to do vandalism. And if you're in government, you can flip a switch. Okay.
I can think of easier ways to do vandalism.
Well, the funniest thing, there's someone who comes to Bike Happy Hour who knows a lot about that space, right? Bike, all the different micromobility stuff. And he was laughing as we were talking about this, and he was saying that, well, that's how you know that they don't keep up with the latest generation of scooters, because you can't lift the current ones up. They're too heavy.
Yeah, they're really heavy.
But back in 2020 during the protests, that was kind of more first gen. So they were actually lighter. And he's like, go try to pick up a scooter and see if you can throw it through a window. I don't think you can.
And a Biketown.
Or a Biketown.
They're 70 pounds.
Yeah. But what's funny is for nothing happened. But what did happen is a huge street takeover here in North Portland, a few blocks away. And so they had to race up to deal with that. Again, car drivers doing crazy stuff. Okay, that's what happened. And then, I guess, was it last night or the night before? Did you see that? The police bureau busted a bunch of, I'm not going to say kids. I don't know how young they were, but I don't think they were too old. They were on these gas power mini bikes.
Okay.
Real mini motorcycles, right?
Sure,
with the little fat tires. And they were just going crazy. They arrested several of them, and they impounded these mini bikes, and they had them on the back of a tow truck, and so they're going after. But these are the things that ended up actually happening as part of their big response, and they were just like, they had all these extra officers in town, and they got the street takeover guys, and they got the mini bikers raising hell. I thought that was interesting. No protests though. No protests.
What are they going to do with all that plywood that got used downtown?
I think that's also just, I do think the city deserves some criticism for that. I don't know. It was just bad optics. It was extra money. And I don't know. It's always easy to look in hindsight and be like, well, look, nothing happened. You look silly. But anyway,
sure.
That whole thing, all the press conferences that says that we're getting ready for all this stuff, but it didn't happen. But I think it could have. So there you go. What else on your mind?
Oh, BikeLoud's having a general meeting. We rented out a room in the Central Library.
Nice. Isn't that where Strong Towns does their meetings there? I was just talking to Jeremiah about that.
Mm-hmm. It's actually hard to find a room big enough. So all of the libraries have rooms you can rent.
Cool.
Well, they're free. You can reserve.
Nice.
Anywhere from like 1 person to 40 people. So only certain libraries have big enough rooms. So the Central Library and I think like Holgate maybe have bigger rooms. So we were able to book a room in the Central Library for a Tuesday night.
I like it. What's on the agenda?
Talking about stuff, just checking in with general membership because I feel like we haven't had general meetings in a while, and it's nice. It'll be nice to kind of check back in and see what people want to see happening and how they want to engage, because we want to have more opportunities for people in the membership base to volunteer or get involved.
Yeah, I like that you're doing it downtown, Central Library.
Yeah,
that's great. Let's
have
get
you
everybody
been there?
down
It's
there.
beautiful. They did a great job.
Not for years.
So there's been the remodel that happened.
Yeah, I need to get down there.
Yeah,
again.
Should do a tour to libraries. You're going to be right by the Hollywood Library.
That'd be fun.
Which is kind of hopping right now because the Belmont is closed.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's good.
What else? I don't know. I've been gardening.
It's been really nice. It's been so nice out.
Just really enjoy the last few minutes of sunshine.
A few minutes of sunshine.
Before the next week full of rain.
Yeah, I know. Let's not talk about that yet.
Don't talk about rain?
No, not yet. Okay. Not yet. We'll have to go back. We'll be back. Before you know it, we'll be back in indoors at Bike Happy Hour with the TV with the fireplace flickering, which was fun when we did that.
How often do you lube your chain?
Well, I'm mostly riding my Turn these days, which has the carbon belt drive,
chain
which
free.
I just love.
Yeah. Do you do any maintenance?
But I lube frequently because at the first hint of a sound,
little squeakies,
it'll be lubed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What was that? Some kind of question for a reason, or?
I'm just curious. This is like a wintertime maintenance thing, right?
Yeah.
For bikes.
Share your wintertime maintenance tip. There you go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say that you need to lube your chain more often in the winter.
Mm-hmm. Because all the road, like the more gunk
it's
and
just
dirt
the wet,
and the water.
The rain tends to like wash away the lube.
Yeah.
It's also gritty. There's just like a lot of goop.
Yeah. That's one of the things I've thought would be fun to do. Just be like the lube guy that just like rides around and finds people. And maybe now social media would be kind of fun.
How about that t-shirt?
I mean, it's
the
a
lube
thing.
Guy.
It's a thing. If I hear that sound, I'm so distracted. I'm like a dog seeing a bird. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you live with yourself creaking like that? It's so bad. I just want to run up to him and be like, hey, I'm the lube guy. I got some lube.
Out.
And then I video it. It'd be a fun little thing. It'd just be like, man on the street, but I got a bottle of lube.
I will say, I used to, when I commuted to work every day in the morning, I would regularly be behind someone where I like felt like I needed to do maintenance on their bicycle. Hard. I'd be like, oh, you have a broken spoke. Or like, oh, your brakes are like worn to nothing and you're going to start wearing through your rotor soon.
Yeah, it must be worse for you as like a actual mechanic.
Where you actually know how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it would take me 30 seconds to like make your bike be better.
Yeah. Would you ever be tempted to like approach someone?
No, generally I'm not going to be like, hey there.
Hi.
Friendly, helpful person.
You could set up a little thing and no.
I will say if you're on the side of the road with a flat tire, like people don't often help you. People aren't really offering a...
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah, has this happened to you?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if I've ever been there like looking where I actually really needed help.
Sure.
And
So like maybe if you look like you know what you're doing, it's fine.
Yeah, and if you have like the stuff you need and you're just working on it. But yeah, generally, I mean, it depends. I think I'm rarely in those positions like in an urban commutering place. I mean, that's going to happen when I'm like out,
right,
far off in some more rural area. And in which case, if you do see a biker, they definitely will be like, "Hey, you good, man?" You know,
right. If you're on Highway 30.
Yeah, yeah. There's that.
I think like every time I ride Highway 30, I get a flat.
I was just on it actually.
Yeah.
I went and checked out.
You made it.
I went and checked out Fire Lane 1.
Okay.
Which is a really frustrating thing because I finally got up in a Forest Park on my bike. I just don't ride bikes anymore, so that was really interesting. But I thought I'd go down Fire Lane 1 to check out the new entrance. They spent a bunch of millions of dollars building a new entrance at Fire Lane 1 right there off of, Front or whatever street. And the idea is to kind of take pressure off the Thurman Gate, which is really crowded and whatever. Actually, there's no parking lot for Forest Park.
Right.
Until that. Like, I don't think people realize that. Every place you park to go to Forest Park is like on the shoulder side of the road in the dirt, right? So anyway, they build this nice big parking lot. Eventually it's supposed to have like a nature center and a whole interpretive area, which is cool. But they didn't have money for that phase now. But it's so frustrating, and it's just so indicative of my frustrations with Forest Park, which is it's a 30% grade leaving the parking lot. And they had to put these weird pavers just so you don't slip, and they could call it improved. And there's like a new stairway on the road. God forbid they take a tractor and, make an actual usable road or trail. That is in the plans, and let's just hope that it actually gets done. But it's
just
so
doing
frustrating.
Some switchbacks instead.
Yeah, and to take Fire Lane 1 up to Leaf Erickson is just this like super arduous. You're either going straight down or straight up. No one can really do it and have fun. And it's really frustrating because it's right there. Now we have a parking lot. It could be an amazing entry if you could wind through the forest on a little trail or even a nice fire access road or something. And you can connect to Leaf, and you can maybe make that's the kind of experience we need in Forest Park. And we've really got with Fire Lane 1, that could potentially be an interesting battle coming up.
So who's in charge, or who sort of is looking after the trails there?
Well, Portland Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And a bunch of really anti-bike NIMBYs.
Okay.
Who will literally
like people who live in the neighborhood
lie, cheat, they'll do anything.
But how do you really feel?
To keep bikes come out of there. And I don't say that about a lot of people, but I have experienced these people. I've looked them in the eye. I've seen what they do. And it's really terrible. And I wish that those kind of tactics were actually, were looked at as a negative by the power structure. But no, they embrace those tactics. They take that narrative and they don't deliver crap for bike riders in Forest Park. It's totally ridiculous. I think what's in Northwest Trail Alliance is ultimately going to be our savior in that space, because they've been building credibility and partnerships and track record and focusing on other things for years, because they too were sort of tired and burnt out from all the nonsense around Forest Park. So maybe Fire Lane 1 is going to be their first entry back into saying, like, how are we going to improve bike access in Forest Park? But the NIMBYs they're gonna come out, and it's not just, I mean, I don't like using that word really. I reserve it just for this situation. There's other people who think they don't want better bike access in the park, but I think if I was to sit down with them for a few minutes and disabuse them of their
like people are walking
negative
or running
narratives about biking and what they think we're talking about.
Yeah, we're
not talking about full face helmets and free ride lines. There will not be any jumps ever. That's fine in Forest Park, let's say. I don't want to be held to that, by the way, but I'm just saying it's a fun get your kids out, pedal around like Gateway Green, but without having to go to Gateway Green or be, there's so much opportunity in Forest Park, and it's just misunderstood by a lot of people, and the city's really failed on that front. They've spent years of money and meetings talking about it, promising they have a plan, but they've never
to do
really
like a
made
separate
progress.
Network of trails that's just for bikes,
separate and shared. I think. Okay. I mean, I think ultimately they could flip a switch tomorrow, change some signage, and put out a flyer and say, hey, by the way, this trail now is allowed uphill only for bikes. That would be transformational. If I could go uphill from, say, Ridge Trail off the St. John's Bridge, and now not a lot of people physically can bike up that necessarily. Yeah. It's not terrible, actually. And with an e-bike and some nice gearing, you could actually ride uphill at a speed of about 3 miles an hour, but it's very beautiful. And guess what? Connect right to Leif Erikson, and then you're in the park, right? You can start at Burgerville, anywhere in St. John's, right over the bridge.
Yeah.
But that whole opportunity is not open because you can't bike on any of those trails, technically. People do.
I'm going to definitely have.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know?
Nobody ever yelled at me.
Yeah, I don't. I would take Ridge sometimes, I guess I'm willing to admit. But I'm super careful with that because I know I don't want someone to pull up my Strava or something and be like, this guy over here is the one who's bad.
Just turn off your Strava, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I don't use that anyway, but it is absurd. Actually, sometimes I've used it and I've thought this would be great actually to get caught and have to I would welcome the conversation, you know, throw me in front of a camera and be like, why were you riding? Well, let me tell you why. Here's the deal. So anyway, little tangent about Forest Park, another whole episode just on that.
Yeah, we can go there later. Bring in an expert.
One of the old Forest Park veteran activist people who's so tired of talking about it and frustrated that the episode might only last a few minutes and then they'll just walk up.
They just start grumbling.
They'll just walk away and leave.
Swearing.
Yeah, right. We're not doing that.
That sounds super fun.
Yeah. Well, we made it to the end of another week. We made it.
You did it.
We had this huge election and now we're leaning into local.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's what I want people to take away. Let's build up what we got here, make it as strong as we can, and have some fun.
Maybe have a little energy left over to do other things.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by, Eva. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, see you next week.